Was there a discussion during the telephone conversation between Presidents Putin and Trump regarding the question of a Christmas truce for January 7th?
No.
The Kremlin has slammed the door on any ceasefire with Ukraine. For now, there will be no pause. Russian presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that a truce on January 7th was not even on the table during the latest call between President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump. No holiday break, no gesture of goodwill, only a stark message. Moscow is digging in and doubling down. Peskov confirmed that Putin and Trump are expected to speak again in the near future, following Trump's recent meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The Kremlin says it will announce the timing when it is ready. Until then, Russia claims it cannot evaluate the Trump-Zelensky talks because it has no official details. But when it comes to Russia's demands, the message is already loud and clear. According to Peskov, if Ukraine truly wants peace, it must withdraw its troops from the parts of Donbas it still controls, beyond the administrative borders. That, he said, is the key political decision Kyiv must make to end the fighting. When pressed on whether the same demand applies to other occupied regions, like Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, Peskov refused to elaborate. He also declined to comment on proposals for a free economic zone in Donbas or shared control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russia, by its own estimates, currently controls about 1/5 of Ukraine, including Crimea, nearly all of Donbas, most of Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, and parts of several other regions. Moscow claims these territories as its own, something that is rejected by Ukraine and most of the world. Peskov also shut down any hope of direct dialogue between Putin and Zelensky. He made it crystal clear, no such phone call is on the table, and none is being considered. At the same time, the Kremlin echoed remarks made by President Trump, who reportedly warned Ukrainian leaders that Ukraine is losing land and could lose more if a deal is not reached soon. Peskov agreed with Trump's assessment that peace talks are approaching a decisive stage. When asked about Zelensky's claim that a peace plan is 90% agreed, Peskov refused to say which version of a peace proposal is gaining ground, whether it's one discussed earlier in Moscow or another backed by European leaders. The Kremlin official also took aim at Europe, saying dissatisfaction is growing among EU citizens as their leaders continue funding the war with taxpayer money. He warned that today's political choices could have serious consequences in future elections. Moscow's message is clear and chilling: no ceasefire, no territorial compromise, no peace unless Ukraine bows to Russia's terms. With another Putin-Trump call on the horizon, the world holds its breath, knowing that the next conversation could decide the fate of the war.
Yesterday, Yuri Viktorovich Ushakov announced that President Putin and President Trump had come to an agreement to hold another meeting.
To
promptly call each other back after the Trump and Zelensky meeting. Please tell me, when will this call happen today? Can we expect it?
We will let you know at the earliest opportunity.
How does the Kremlin evaluate the negotiations that were held in Florida?
We don't know how those discussions went, so we can't really assess them. Just now there was a question that after these conversations, the two presidents, the president of Russia and the president of the United States, agreed to call each other again. That's when we will receive the information.
What is the Kremlin stance on the idea of establishing a free economic zone in the territory of Donbas, currently controlled by Ukrainian forces? And what is the Kremlin's position regarding the concept of joint management for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant?
We are currently of the opinion that it would not be expedient to discuss comments on individual points, public comments, the fact that there is serious dissatisfaction. EU leaders who are eager for the war to continue are reaching deep into their taxpayers' pockets. That's quite clear. It's quite clear. And this discontent is steadily growing. To what extent can European citizens actually remove someone from power before the next elections? It's highly unlikely they possess such legal rights. It's highly unlikely they possess such legal rights. Therefore, they will, without a doubt, simply have to come to terms with the situation. They will inevitably have to tolerate those very leaders whom they themselves chose and elected during the previous election cycle. But it's perfectly clear that in the next elections they will all have a very hard time.
Could you please clarify the words of Yuri Ushakov, who said yesterday that for the final cessation of hostilities, Kyiv needs a responsible political decision in line with the work being done on the Russian-American track, and this decision concerns Donbas, taking into account the developing situation on the fronts? What kind of decision is this regarding Donbas? Can you explain this? Is this a complete transfer of control over Donbas territories?
Of course it's leaving.
Or something else?
Military forces of the regime from Donbas beyond its administrative boundaries.
But does this only apply to Donbas, or are we also talking about the Kherson region and Zaporizhzhia as well?
Ye have already stated here that we will not be fully and entirely commenting on or entering into a public discussion regarding the specific individual provisions.
Following yesterday's negotiations, reports emerged in the American media about a potential phone conversation between Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky. We recall that the Russian side has consistently stated that negotiating groups must first work before any direct dialogue can take place. What is the current position? Is such a conversation, such a meeting possible at all?
We're not discussing that kind of conversation now.
A statement has emerged from Vladimir Zelensky indicating that Russia needs to prepare Plan B. Has the Kremlin offered any comment on this particular matter? He was in fact specifically asked whether there was a Plan B for bringing an end to the ongoing military conflict, and he actually stated that from his perspective Russia ought to be considering Plan B precisely concerning the cessation of the military conflict.
Russia is contemplating the termination of the military conflict in the context of achieving its strategic objectives. Second, it would likely be quite pertinent at this point to recall the repeated declarations made just yesterday by the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, who, it would seem when speaking to his Ukrainian counterparts, made it clear that Ukraine is currently losing its territory and will inevitably continue to lose even more. And tomorrow the situation will be different from the situation that exists today. This is the plan, A, B, and C.
Trump also stated that the prospect of peace has drawn significantly closer and negotiations are now in their final stages. Is the Kremlin in agreement with such an assessment? After his meeting with Trump, Zelensky stated that the peace plan has been agreed upon by approximately 90%.
Given that Trump called the President Putin before these negotiations, could you please clarify which specific option is being referred to? Is it the one that both Witkoff and Kushner brought to Moscow in early December, which was discussed for several hours in the Kremlin, or the one that Zelensky unveiled after his meeting with the Europeans? Which peace option have we actually moved closer to?
At the moment, we don't deem it necessary to elaborate.
Was there a discussion during the telephone conversation between Presidents Putin and Trump regarding the question of a Christmas truce for January 7th?
No.